Joining me now is Royal Editor for the Daily Mirror, Russel Myers. Russel, we're getting used to speaking to you in hotel rooms. You're joining us from Cape Town in South Africa for the Earthshot Prize. We will get to that in a second. But first, a very interesting report that's just dropped about the King not wanting to be dragged into Harry's row with the Home Office. What can you tell us?
Well, indeed, Cara. Well, great to see you again from foreign climes. But yeah, this really is an interesting story about Prince Harry and his relationship with his father, the King. Of course, he's had this long-running court case with the Home Office, taking the British government to court over his security arrangements. And of course, you will remember the British government said that he wasn't eligible for security when in the UK and visiting with his family, which has caused quite a stir for Harry. He said that he doesn't feel that it's safe enough to bring his wife and children back to the UK. And he's been staying in hotels rather than staying at Buckingham Palace. So the issue for the King is, does he start getting into conversations with Harry about this? It could create something called legal jeopardy for the King. Of course, Prince Harry has quite a propensity to repeat private conversations between himself and other members of the royal family. So it could be a real big legal issue for the King if he was to discuss this and those conversations were to be aired in a court of law. So the King is caught between a rock and a hard place, it seems, between having a relationship with his son and then obviously trying to help him out to get him to come to the country a bit more often.
And Russell, this coincides with a report about Harry's last trip where, as you say, he felt more secure in a hotel rather than Buckingham Palace. Is that trying to leverage this situation somehow?
Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting point as well, because, you know, when he did visit here in May for the 10th of UK in May for the 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games, he decided to stay in a hotel once more. And we understand that he had asked the palace for use of a royal residence. There was a bit of a gap between the correspondence, but he was able and was offered a chance to stay in one of the apartments at Buckingham Palace. He decided to turn that down, interestingly, and stay at a hotel, citing once more security reasons. And to me, this doesn't really make sense. I mean, how on earth can Harry be far more safer in a hotel in London than staying behind palace walls where he'd be afforded the royalty protection? And again, Harry's point falls down on several notions, because he has been told that it will be on a case-by-case basis if he's coming to see the King or he's coming here on sort of official family business like the coronation, which he did. He will be afforded that royalty protection. So, you know, Harry is sort of digging his heels in with the British government here, and it will be interesting to see how long this saga runs on for.
And as I said at the top, you're in South Africa for the Earthshot Awards. Prince William is due to arrive tomorrow, I understand. What can we look forward to?
Well, there's a lot to look forward to. I mean, this is the fourth instalment of the Earthshot Awards. It's been in London, Singapore and Boston before, and there's a lot of excitement here in Cape Town. It's going to be the most sustainable games ever, apparently. They've built an eco-dome, a purpose-built theatre in Cape Town that can be reused and repackaged to go to other places. Prince William has been talking about the urgency, not only of the climate emergency, but also the willingness of Gen Z to get involved. These are the people, of course, the generation that are going to be most affected by climate change. And interestingly, he said that it was great to be back in Africa. He arrives in just a few hours. And of course, Africa was a place of comfort for him, he said. After the death of his late mother, he proposed to his wife, the Princess of Wales, in Kenya in 2010. So he's got a lot of affection and a lot of affiliation with the continent. So it'll be interesting to see sort of the buzz around the city. I'm really looking forward to getting out and about and meeting lots of people to do with the Earthshot Prize.
And I'm looking forward to the footage for next week's show. Now, back in the UK, and while we've known for some time that King Charles was going to cease paying for Prince Andrew's security, it's now been reported that the King will also cut his allowance. Now, what has happened here and why?
Well, I mean, this is, again, another long-running saga in long-running sagas, isn't it? Because Prince Andrew and the King have been at loggerheads. The King sort of asking him to move out of Royal Lodge, that 30-room mansion that he has in the shadow of Windsor Castle. The Duke of York is refusing to budge on that. But the King has a bit of a trump card, because he has taken away his $6 million a year security detail. He's taken away his $2 million allowance. I mean, this is how Prince Andrew was existing when the late Queen was around. She had a bit of a soft spot for her son, but of course now the King is head of the family. He has said that he doesn't want Andrew to be a financial burden on him anymore. And why wouldn't he? Because Andrew's fall from grace has been well documented. And I think the King feels that he should sort of cut his cloth accordingly, move out of Royal Lodge. He has been given a house, which is Harry and Meghan's old cottage, Frogmore Cottage, on the grounds of the Windsor estate, and yet he's been sort of refusing to budge. So again, it'd be interesting to see who wins out of this if the purse strings have been cut now.
Never a dull moment. And it won't come as a surprise to you, Russell. I'm no fan of political correctness, and I wager neither is a swathe of our audience. Turns out neither is the King. How did this all come to light?
Well, again, I mean, this is the issue for members of the royal family when they are involved in correspondence, and we've seen that yet again with the King. In 1998, he wrote a series of letters to a friend that had just gone up for auction, and he wrote about the Greek Orthodox Church. He said that they were the only ones that had yet been uncorrupted by loathsome political correctness. And of course, he is head of the Church of England. So this is called quite a stir. I don't think he'd be saying those sorts of things nowadays. But of course, when these letters come to pass at auction, sometimes it can be rather embarrassing for the royal family. And I think that this has sort of befallen the King yet again on this occasion.
And now to the late Queen and her relationship with Paddington Bear, which was always so special. And apparently it's not over.
Well, no, and this is great news, I think, because we all remember the cameo appearance of the late Queen during her coronation. I mean, that was absolutely sent the crowds wild outside Buckingham Palace when I was there, and it was premiered, and everybody watching it around the country and around the world will remember that really loving scene. And the new Paddington Bear film, Paddington 3, Paddington in Peru, is going to feature that. And it's great that the Palace have sort of given the go-ahead for this, because, you know, it is part of the late Queen's legacy, I think. A lot of people really got behind it. A lot of people really enjoyed that moment. So it's great to see that it's going to be in this new film, which is out in November as well.
And lastly, and very quickly, I've only got about 30 seconds left, a charity single is going to be released to celebrate Princess Diana's legacy. Can you very quickly tell us about it?
Yes, indeed. This is from Charles Spencer, her brother, Princess Diana's brother. He has got the rock choir performing Cass Elliott's 1969 ballad, Make Your Own Kind of Music. And this is all going to be for the Diana Award, help to, you know, thousands and thousands of children all around the world. So get behind it. I'm sure we can get a few quid together for such a good cause.
Divine idea. Russel Myers, thank you so much for joining us.